I'm super excited. Before we move to the Fireside chat, I think it would be interesting to introduce Kin and the Kin ecosystem. So I just went on kin.org/stats and looked at the numbers. They are public. We have today 59 different apps running on the Kin blockchain, on the Kin ecosystem. Millions of users are part of this ecosystem, and this makes Kin already today one of the most used cryptocurrencies in the world. And I think that the unique part is not only the usage, it's actually a new business model for app developers, an alternative for monetizing by bombarding users with ads or selling user data. And this is a super exciting journey for us building the blockchain, building the SDKs, the tools, building the platform, and seeing developers actually join and succeed and see traction and growth, and eventually a new way to monetize their applications. And this is literally only the beginning. When you look at the ecosystem today, you can see different types of apps. So you can see games, you can see messaging apps. Some of them are very big, tens of millions of users. Some of them are just indie developers releasing their first app. And for me, the part that I'm most proud of is the fact that most of the work, most of the tool development, the blockchain development is done here in Tel Aviv. So we have a team of almost 70 people here, literally on this floor, working on building the blockchain, building the tools. And mainly my invitation for everyone here is to follow up, visit kin.org, speak with the team that is going to stay here after the event and learn more about why it's interesting, why you should join this journey and be part of it together with us. When you look at the news today, and Ted will talk about it a bit more, Facebook announcing their token, Libra, a lot of attention from the media recently, and I think that it's clear that the opportunity is huge. This is a new industry. The disrupt is similar to what we saw with the internet in the early days, and it's only the beginning. So joining very, very early creates a unique opportunity to capture more of the value. Today specifically, hearing from Ted, again, I think it's a very unique opportunity. Ted has been to Tel Aviv probably now almost 20 times. But if we look back, so Kik celebrated 10 years last week, last few days, and Kik and Ted were on the bleeding edge of innovation for more than a decade now. The first messaging platform, the first bots platform, content, Kik points as a virtual currency inside of a messenger, becoming a unicorn, 300 million users at the peak, Tencent investing at the $1 billion valuation, and seeing the future always a step before everyone else. So that's a perspective about the crypto industry, blockchain, Kin specifically, going to be very, very interesting to hear, and I'm sure we'll have a very good evening together. So thank you again for coming. I'll pass it back to Ben, and we'll get started. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So the next part of this meetup is the Fireside Chat. And if you haven't been to a conference and seen a Fireside Chat, I think it's so much nicer than the actual just, kind of getting on stage and giving a speech. It's a lot more personal. It really creates a dialogue and a nice conversation, and you can learn a lot from it. The first about 30 minutes of the Fireside Chat, we did prepare some questions, and then we're going to turn it over to the audience to ask some questions as well afterwards, okay? So first I'm going to introduce our moderator for the Fireside Chat, Chase Barker. Chase is our lead developer advocate. He's working with developers, to integrate. He's writing blogs about, the work that he's doing with developers and their journey to integrate our SDK, going live, all those things. And then next up, Ted Livingston. Alex spoke so beautifully about Ted that I don't think I need to give another introduction, but everyone's comfortable?
This is my first time hosting one of these, so please forgive me. So let's start from the very beginning.
Can I start with a quick story about you?
Yes, sure.
So this is not fair enough. This is not the first time you've asked me questions though, because Chase was in our Reddit community, and I don't know if you remember this, but I remember it vividly. So we do these AMAs, and Chase always had great questions, and I would respond to them live on video. And your name on Reddit is like Chase EB,
Yeah.
and I called you Chasib. And I was like, oh, great question, Chasib. And you made fun of me for that. So you've been asking me questions for a long time, so you have great questions. So thanks for doing this.
Yes, for the longest time, everybody in Reddit thought that I was Indian or something along those lines. But anyway, so let's start from the beginning here. I think one of the first things for a lot of people that may not know you or your history, let's talk a little bit about a founding Kik and how that kind of transitioned into you coming up with the idea for Ken and like how that sort of all evolved.
Good question. So I started Kik, as Alex said, just over 10 years ago now. So I was younger then. I like to think I'm still young now, but 10 years younger. And my thing was like mobile was blowing up. This is actually just as Android is coming out in 2009. And just looking at this as this new mega opportunity and wanting to be part of it. And so I looked around and I said, you know, what is going to be one of the killer applications of this technology? It's going to be communication. You know, within communication, it's going to be chat. And so we launched a chat app in 2010. It was super successful, 0 to 1 million users in 15 days, 1 million to 2 million users in 7 days. So one of the fastest growing things in known human history. And that was exciting. You know, we get to build a company with this app, the whole world's talking about Kik. We raised lots of money. But the question is like, how are we going to make money? And this is something we really struggled with because, you know, we're competing with these big companies. They have these advertising machines selling users privacy, their attention, their data, giving nothing back. And because they have these machines, they give everything else away for free. So you're sort of stuck. Either you try to sell things, but then, well, they could just get it free from Facebook, or you try to do advertising, but then you're competing with a monopoly, and you feel dirty at the end of the day. And something at Kik, you know, what's drove our innovation, and Alex talked about it, we were constantly ahead, is we really work hard to find the win-win. We wanted a way to make money that our users would want. And that took a long time to figure out, and we first started thinking about Kin in 2011, when we first learned about Bitcoin. So way back, I remember being at a Bitcoin conference with only 12 people for the who's who of Bitcoin. And what we said is like, wait a second, if we could create our quote-unquote own Bitcoin, we called it at the time, and own a piece of that own Bitcoin, then we could create a new monetization model. You know, we own a piece of it, there's only going to be so much, so if more and more people want it, more and more people are buying it, then our piece becomes more valuable. But then we don't need to sell their attention, sell their data, we don't need to extract anything, we're just trying to turn our community into sort of this digital economy. And not only could that be a model for us, but it could be a model for many other developers as well. So we started experimenting with this in 2014, built a whole economy around this thing called Kik Points, this sort of prototype currency, got millions of people using it. That gave us conviction this could work, and then in 2017 we launched Kin.
Thank you. Yeah, I have to be perfectly honest, I knew a lot of those answers, but the reason I did is because I started watching Ted's AMAs about probably like a year ago, and I joined the first Kin Developers Program and built an app, and a lot of this all happened because the story he just told you about developers, free and fair, being monetized, was something that really sold me on the project, and it kind of transitioned into me sitting here right now, actually. So let's get into some meat right here. So as you know, Facebook has recently launched their own currency, something you've been pretty vocal about, probably since as long as I've known you, and way before that. But anyway, so how do you see projects such as Libra, Telegram, and even Microsoft shaping the space now, and what impact do you think that will have on Kin and your vision?
It's good. It's good. It's an AMA, but you get to ask all the questions. We've been competing with Facebook for a long time. You know, anything we do, 2 years later they copy it. Anything we do, 2 years later they copy it. And every time when we come up with this next thing, people try to tell us, oh, but Facebook would never do that. And so when we went public with Kin 2.5 years ago now, people would told me, like, Facebook would never do that. Why would they do that? They have this great advertising business model, all this regulatory risk. I said, why? Because it's a big opportunity. But when there's a big opportunity, you can guarantee Facebook's going to try to own it for themselves. This cock and crush mentality. So we knew they were going to do it for a long time. We were very vocal about it in some of my AMAs, and I said some colorful words about that. A little bit of a hashtag. But we've been preparing for that. I think that's what's super exciting with Kin is, you know, we can't compete with Facebook company versus company. Nobody can. Nobody can compete with Facebook in their domain. Nobody can compete with Amazon in their domain. Nobody can compete with Google in their domain. Big companies are eating software. And we anticipated that. So we said, this time, when they inevitably copy us, how can we set things up so that we can beat them? Maybe not by ourselves, but as a group working together. And so this is why we created Kin. This is why we called Kin Kin. Kin being the family. We said, how can we set up the incentive so that just sort of like in Bitcoin, you know, you have the block reward incentivizes all these miners to work together to secure the network. What if we could create something similar so that all these developers could work together to grow demand for this currency, not just in one app or 2 apps, but in hundreds, if not thousands of apps. And so that's one of the really powerful things we do with Kin is there's now 59 apps live. With Kin and their apps, it's almost become a digital EU, a digital euro. So it's all these apps where they all use Kin as their currency in their app. And the more they get people using it, the more money they make. The more they help other people in the ecosystem, the more money they make. And so what it's done is use a cryptocurrency to get everybody working together and competing together. So now it's no longer Kik taking on Facebook, or Rave taking on Facebook, or Tapatalk taking on Facebook. It's the Kin ecosystem together taking on Facebook. But, this is what's been super interesting to me. So yes, Facebook did copy Kin, but they didn't quite get it right. It's actually a little bit different. So what Libra is they're trying to go straight for money for the physical world. They're saying, hey, you know, let's just build money for the physical world. Let's use our 2.5 billion user network and let's go at that. Whereas Kin is money for the digital world. It's microtransactions. I'll send you a penny for something you did, content you created. You send me a penny for something I did, content in the game, whatever it might be. So they're actually different. So I think that's been great is Libra on one side has validated Kin. Okay, it's about money 2.0, but at the same time it's different. And in a way, I actually think their strategy is in many ways worse. But maybe we can talk about that later as well.
Yeah. Thank you. That was actually going to be my follow-up question, but thank you for answering that. Yeah, I think it's super interesting. I'm not going to lie. The first time that I saw Libra release their white paper, I got a little worried in myself just because Facebook enters the game, 2 billion users. I have to ask you, after everything you just said, did you have any fear or any worry whenever Facebook finally came out with their project and they showed their white paper and every single thing for the moment, like nobody paid attention to anything other than Libra for at least 2 days on Twitter. So were there any fear inside of you behind that?
So we have been competing with Facebook for a while, and this was expected. But I think when it gets announced, even though you can prepare mentally, like it's coming and all these rumors, and you start to hear what it's going to be, there comes a moment where it's like, today. It's here today. And definitely you're like, whoa, like that's a big day. But when I dug more into Libra, I actually got excited. And I got excited because on one side, it was pure validation. Right now, we get all these calls from the biggest tech companies in the world, like, shit, we don't have cryptocurrency, what should we be doing? So it was amazing validation. But on the other side, it's totally different. Like, we are building money for the digital world, they are building money for the physical world. And what's exciting about that is they've left this opportunity completely open for us. And the network effect of kin is now starting to take hold, where the 99% of developers out there who have apps are realizing they can't compete against Facebook alone. So they say, what are all our options? They say, hey, just like Kik discovered years and years ago, we need a new business model. And what's the winning money for the digital world? It's kin. Kin is way out front. You know, Alex hedged his comment, one of the most used cryptocurrencies in the world. I think that's because we get a lot of flack from the crypto industry that, no, you're not the most used in the world. And my answer to that is, depending on the definition of used, we are. Okay? You want to wait on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll wait.
But yeah, I completely agree with all that. Like I said, I was initially like kind of scared, but the more I started thinking about it and realizing what they were doing, it kind of made me start thinking, that's not what we're doing. We're doing something different. So let's see what we have here now. What do you see on the horizon for the future of building apps and integrating kin, and also the users that are using and holding that kin?
So I think what we want to do now is it's working. And we're in a unique position, and we want to just keep going. You know, one of the really interesting things is, as Libra has come out and as kin continues to grow, is just the level of conversations we're having. And for example, last week I was catching up with Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter and CEO of Square. And Jack is a big Bitcoin, what do we call it, maximalist?
Yes.
Maybe maximalist is too strong for Jack, but Bitcoin believer. And we're talking about Libra, he's like, oh, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, his word was devious, that devious guy in the devious company. But he's like, listen, Libra's not going to win because these are people's paychecks we're talking about. And when it's paychecks, you got to be very careful. The fact that Bitcoin is being developed so slowly is a feature, not a bug. Because if I send you $100 on Bitcoin and you lose the $100, you're never using Bitcoin again. So he was saying, Libra, like, they can't catch up now because they'll have to go fast. If they go fast, they'll make mistakes, so they'll break things. If they break money, nobody will use it. So he wasn't worried about Libra at all. I go, oh, that's really interesting, Jack. Because we're focused not on paychecks, we're focused on pennies. We're focused on the pennies in the digital world. And what's really liberating about that is if I lose a penny I earned in Kik for hosting a group chat, or you don't get the penny I sent you as a tip in Rave or whatever it might be, like, that sucks. But it's not the end of the world. You didn't lose your $200 whatever it is paycheck, you lost 2 pennies. So I said, Jack, that's really interesting. We can actually move way faster. And he goes, wow, that's really profound. That's amazing. And so I think that's like the huge advantage we have is, like, we have 450,000 monthly active spenders, hundreds of times more than any other cryptocurrency in the world, actual consumers using it. And we are so far ahead. And I feel like it's not just exciting that people are realizing how big the opportunity is. It's not just exciting to see that we are winning and are so far ahead, but what's really exciting to me is every day, it actually feels like we are getting even further ahead. Like, the network effect is taking hold, more developers are coming in, but I think we just keep pouring gas on that fire.
Yeah, so I might have not framed that question properly, but I think more along the lines of, obviously the ecosystem's taking off. Like you said, we have about 56, 59 apps right now in the ecosystem, and what you're seeing is, like, we have some apps that are the front runners right now, and they're really doing some cool things, and as we're moving forward, we have a bunch of brand new modules and lots of new things happening right now. And what I'm personally seeing is some of these smaller guys are looking at these bigger guys that are building with kin, and they're kind of duplicating it, so it's becoming like an organic process. And I think my question was more related to, like, where we are in our ecosystem right now. What do you see in the short to to midterm future in terms of developers building with Kin? Like how fast do you think that they can go, and how far that they think that they can take this right now?
I noticed that bag over there. Did you notice the bag? Would you mind doing that later? Thank you for your help, though. I appreciate it.
More like a vision.
Let me back up. Yeah, I think it's a great question. So, what is the mission of Kin? And the mission of Kin is to build a more fair world, build a more fair digital world, right? Consumers today are contributing so much, they aren't getting anything back. Developers are contributing so much just to have their innovations copied and taken by one of these big companies. So it's our mission to build a more fair digital world and do that with Kin, the cryptocurrency, as the tool. And the way we're doing that is we're basically building a new economy. This is a little far out, and it gets me excited. Is we're, as we move to this world where more and more of things are done by automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, what do the rest of us get to do? In the physical world, then actually the number of jobs are sort of starting to go away, and we start to see that around the world. We get to build a new digital economy. And so what we're trying to do is it's just like the physical economy, but in the digital world. So in the physical economy, step one, you want to get your first job. You pump gas, or you flip burgers, or whatever it might be. In the digital world, that's sometimes giving your data, like filling in surveys. It's sharing your attention, watching ads, but now you get paid. Okay? And then, so you get your first paycheck. And you say, hey, what can I do with that? In the physical world, you go to the movies, or you buy a guitar, or you buy some hummus. Best hummus in the world. In the digital world, it's, okay, what can I do with this? You tip a creator, you get a piece of content, etc. Then what gets exciting is, in the physical world, you say, well, I don't want to, this is exciting, I can flip a burger, earn some money, and then I can take that money and go to a movie, but I don't want to flip burgers for the rest of my life. Is there some way I can specialize and provide more specialized value to the world? And that's what we're starting to see in all these Kin apps now. This is the part that gets me really excited, is developers enabling consumers to specialize how they contribute value to the world and to get compensated for that. So, we're seeing in Kik, for example, you could watch an ad and make some money, you could get a sticker pack and spend some money, but now with tipping, we're seeing people start to specialize their contributions. There's this bonsai tree group, some of the best bonsai tree people in the world, and all they need is a phone and some time and some expertise. They can contribute, and they're actually getting paid. So this is the thing to me, and I think where it goes, we're at very early days of Kin as this digital economy, but where it's going is we're starting to see this whole ecosystem of apps. We're starting to see people contribute in this really interesting way over here, and then enjoy somebody else's contribution over there, and developers are facilitating all that, extracting none of that value for themselves, but making money through this new crypto business model. And so just like developers, we're starting to see more and more interesting ways of doing that.
Yeah, and I agree. I think as it keeps going, people are just going to continue to reiterate on these ideas, and it's just going to keep growing and growing. But with that said, all these developers using Kin for their users to earn and spend, all these users are spending Kin. Now I'm going to get to a tough question. How does that look right now? Obviously, there's some looming issues with the SEC right now. We have developers who are, some of them have become a little bit weary. Some users, people, they search Kin and they see questions pop up about the SEC. So you knew that we were going to ask something related to this. So I think we should probably just address this, and I want to get some of your thoughts on how we proceed and what the future looks like in terms of this.
One of our values, with these 9 values, but the last one is, we embrace the challenges and changes that come with being on the bleeding edge. If you want to change the game, it's going to be hard. And we experienced this very early on at Kik. When I told you we went 0 to 1 million users in 15 days, 1 million to 2 million users in 7 days. But what happened next? What did WhatsApp win? I hear about WhatsApp, I use WhatsApp, Kik. I don't use it, I know people do use it, but I don't use it. It's not the global chat platform that WhatsApp is. What happened next is BlackBerry, we were the first chat app on iPhone, Android, and BlackBerry. BlackBerry mattered at the time. And all of a sudden, millions of people were getting it. And BlackBerry said, whoa, that's a threat to our BlackBerry Messenger user app. Like, nobody was supposed to be able to do that. It was this disruption that came out of the blue. And so what was their response to that? They said, kill them. So they took away access to their tools, they turned off push notifications, and then they sued us for a frivolous patent lawsuit. The fact that my messages and your messages show up on the same screen, which they have a patent for, but they have a patent to do it in the wrong way. And we lost 99% of our users over the next 3 weeks. It would be like WhatsApp, Google saying to WhatsApp today, hey, WhatsApp is banned from all Android devices. Well, I have a bunch of friends on Android, I can't use it anymore. Now, what BlackBerry didn't realize is there were a bunch of other chat apps just like us right behind us. They just weren't as good yet, they weren't growing as much yet, so they couldn't stop us. They couldn't stop messaging from becoming a big thing, but they did a good job of killing us, and it was a complete reset for the company. And that was a hard experience. That was a devastating experience. It's taking us a decade to build back up to where we are today, but we learned a lot. And the biggest thing we learned is when you want to be disruptive, it's going to be hard, but given that it's going to be hard, you got to take on these bullies head on. And so when we fast forward to crypto, we saw sort of the same thing happening where the SEC was saying, hey, any cryptocurrency that has done a token sale has done an illegal securities offering from our point of view. That's Ethereum, that's Kin, that's pretty much every cryptocurrency out there. But after years of asking for guidance, trying to find a win-win with them, it was just always back to zero, always back to zero. We're not getting anywhere. And we realized, they're not trying to find a solution, they're just being bullies. And not just to us, but to everybody in the industry. And so we said to ourselves, we have the capital, we have the investors, we have the usage, we have the right facts. We are uniquely positioned to take them on. And so that's where we went really vocal and we said, listen, SEC, this is ridiculous, somebody needs to court, we're prepared to do it, let's do it. So we stepped into the ring, they stepped into the ring, and we're going to fight this on behalf of all crypto. We feel very confident that they are wrong for a number of reasons I could talk about. But it's important that they're slowing this whole industry down. And when there's an opportunity this big, we're not going to let that happen for us or for anyone else in the industry. So we're going to take them on.
Yeah, I actually just recently read an article. I'm sure you saw the same article that I did. And this somebody that kind of dug into a lot of this, and they're pretty much speaking about how initially, and I know you've spoken about this a little bit before, initially how the Wells report, the initial one.
Notice.
Yeah, the Wells notice. So the Wells notice mentioned Kik and the Kin Foundation, and more recently, whenever they filed suit against the company, they kind of left out Kin Foundation, which kind of opened up things to say that sounds like it's about the token sale, it's not about developers using Kin moving forward, and that kind of shined a little bit of light on things and kind of lightened things up, at least in my view. So I'm sure you read the same thing that I did, so I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
That's a great point, because they did look at both, and what we wanted from them is, we want to help you because there are scams and there are frauds, but Kin today is definitely not a security. And that's really important because if it is, consumers aren't going to be able to easily buy it, they can't buy it, or they use it. That's what we're all doing at Kin, is building something people actually use. And so we weren't able to get there, and that's why we went to court. So what was interesting when the lawsuit was filed, it was just about the token sale in 2017 and nothing about today. And so the article was from the Blockchain Association, a big association with Coinbase and Circle and all these big members, saying, this is great for Kin because they said the same thing about Ethereum. The way Ethereum token sale was done was not, in their view, not right. Everything was an illegal securities offering in their view, but Ethereum today is fine. And what this article said, from this independent association, was they're saying the same thing about Kin. Maybe what was done back then, that's what they're going to fight over, but they're saying basically what's happening today is fine. So if you're a developer, you should be just as excited from a legal perspective to build for Kin as you are for Ethereum. And so actually, I think by them bringing a lawsuit against us, just for that, it actually created the clarity we were hoping for. So that's a good point.
Yeah, so those were my top questions for now, so we're going to reel it back in a little bit, because I know you were speaking earlier. We're talking about nearly 500,000 monthly active spenders right now, and as far as I know, there's not a single other crypto project out there that's actually using this metric to measure their usage. A lot of it's pretty much just posting operations, which we've seen on blocktivity.info, and we're number 2 right now, but then we have, there's one above us that's in 20 million. But anyways, we both know that this number is pretty much useless. What really matters, not account creations, none of this stuff. It's more about how many users are earning and spending in your app. So I think I kind of wanted you to elaborate a little more on why this metric, we're the only one who uses it, why are we the only one who uses it, and why is that so important to us, the monthly active spenders?
So when you think about how to value a medium of exchange, a currency, how do you value how much the shekel should be worth, the US dollar should be worth? There's actually an equation. And that equation talks about the number of transactions that are happening multiplied by the value of those transactions divided by the velocity of money. Okay, so how much is Bitcoin's real value? We can look at it. How many purchases are happening multiplied by how much are those purchases worth divided by how much are people using it and turning over the money they hold. Do they only hold $100 or do they actually hold $1,000 back, and how often is that turning over? And the thing we saw very early is, and maybe it's our consumer mindset, we want to get people to use things, we want to build it so they use it, but that's also the right economic thing. Why? Bitcoin can be a store of value. That's great. You get whatever it is, a few million people buying $1,000 worth to have it be a store of value. But actually that doesn't create that much value as a medium of exchange. Because you have very few users. You have 1 million people when you have a world with 7 billion people. That's probably not even 1 million, it's probably closer to 50,000 active people using Bitcoin. So we said, this classic Silicon Valley, the revenue of a company is how many users you have times how many dollars do you get per user. How much is a currency worth? How many people do you have multiplied by what is the value of the transactions they're doing? And it seemed like every other cryptocurrency is just focusing on the value of the transactions, not for utility, but just trading. I'll trade you Bitcoin for Litecoin, you trade me Litecoin for Bitcoin, but nobody's actually using it. We said, if we can first get people using it, we will have done something that no other cryptocurrency in the world has done. And then from there, today it's just I give you a penny, you give me a penny, but now we're using it as money. This is money in our digital world. Maybe you're going to send that person a penny and that person a penny, and all of a sudden it's 4 pennies a day, and 10 pennies a day, and 100 pennies a day. All of a sudden we have billions of people transacting with thousands of dollars. That would create the most valuable currency in the world. And so this is why we use monthly active spenders. It's sort of a playbook that WhatsApp did. It's not about registered users, it's about monthly active users. So we say it's not about traders, it's about people who are using it as money. It's about monthly active spenders. And again, we are so far ahead, and I feel like every day we're getting further ahead. A lot of these other crypto projects, I meet with them and they go, wow, that's really smart. That's really good. And it's just we're just so much further ahead. We're further ahead in our understanding, but also we're further ahead in our results. We met with the top crypto fund, who's a big holder of Kin, top crypto fund in the United States, Pantera, meeting with the CEO and the chief investment officer, and they look at 500,000 monthly active spenders. They go, that is at least 500 times the usage of any other cryptocurrency we are aware of. And so I think that's the exciting thing. Today people say, well, the values are so small. I go, yeah, that's part of the plan. And when we look at monthly active spenders, people actually using it, today it's 500,000, tomorrow I want it to be 1 million, one day I want it to be 1 billion. That's the real race. And that's where we're so far ahead and every day getting further ahead.
Awesome, thank you for that answer. So that's actually the end of my question list today, so I think we're going to go ahead and open it up to the audience now, if anybody has a question for us. Yes? I'm just going to repeat it over here, so you can go ahead and ask it.
In my end, questions, double-edged sword. One end is the system depth involved in what the developers presenting, advice on price. And then one's going to use can as a currency if the price is so sensitive. One day is one the other day is like everybody's going to hold much like Bitcoin and other coins. So how can quantify price changes? If they do, how are they going to be profitable?
Yeah. So did you hear that question? So basically he's asking if why are people going to use CAN if the prices are changing? If it's high, they're going to hold it. If it's low, then they're not. Yeah.
Got it. I think it is a great question. It's something we spend a lot of time thinking about. It's something that actually gets us quite excited. Right? So let's compare Bitcoin, Libra, and CAN for a second. So Bitcoin, it's very valuable. It's trying to be money for the physical world, or it was. You know, the original white paper, like eCash. You know, everybody's forgotten that, but that was the original white paper. But it didn't work. It didn't work. Why? Because nobody wants to be the 10,000 Bitcoin pizza guy. You know, I paid 10,000 Bitcoin for pizza, and I could have had $100 million instead. Maybe more than that. I don't know. 100 million? Yeah, 100 million. $100 million pizza. Horrible. So, how did Libra solve that? They said, we'll make it a stable coin. This is not going to go up, not going to go down, so you might as well use it as money. But what did they give up on that? Well, then where's the incentive to adopt it early? What it's going to be worth tomorrow, it's going to be worth today, like that might be great if you already have 2.5 billion users and you're just doing it for yourself, which I think Facebook is. But for everybody else, like nobody would mind Bitcoin if it could never go up in price. So that's like the dilemma you have. If you want it to be money, it's got to be stable. But if you want there to be incentive, it has to be unstable. This is one of the things that we think is so exciting about the digital world. Because in the digital world, people are spending fractions of a penny. Okay? We want hundreds of millions, billions of people spending fractions of a penny. So nobody's worried that, oh my gosh, but if I spend my 1 penny today, it might be worth 10 pennies tomorrow. They just know this is the only way to get all the things they want in the digital world. So I think that's like the power of starting with microtransactions in the digital world is we can have our cake and eat it too. People use it as money because the amounts initially are so small in fiat, but we have that volatility so that when we pay out developers from the mining reward, what they get today is meaningful, but it could be worth a heck of a lot more tomorrow. I think this is one of the killer insights we've had with Kin is by going at the digital world, we can have our cake and eat it too.
All right, thank you. Any more questions out there?
There is a huge developer market in Asia right now. Does Kin have any plan to expand into this market?
Okay, so the question is a large crypto market in Asia, and is there any plans for us to expand into that market? Currently, I think...
I was going to say, you answer the question.
I'm going to make you do it. Anyway, so I think right now, currently in the dev program, I'm just going to kind of throw a random number out there. We have about 85% of our developers are US-based. That's kind of where we've been targeting, but I was just kind of joking, and I will answer that question. So yes, we actually are targeting Asia right now. We actually, 2 months ago, we went to a Unity developer conference in South Korea, and we actually had a ton of interest from everybody. It was actually amazing the amount of interest we had. The only problem was a little bit of a language barrier in South Korea, but anyways, so we have like Asia in our sights in terms of that. Any more questions? Yeah.
Are there examples of apps using Kin as a reward platform to reward the users?
Did you ask, is there any examples of apps using Kin to reward their users? Yeah, there certainly is, and I'll let Ted go ahead and answer that.
There's 59 of them. Yeah, there's a bunch. I think this is the exciting thing about Kin is, let me step back for a second. I was at this Wall Street Day. One of our investors, Union Square Ventures, they do this Wall Street Day every year, and this year they said, we want to do a crypto track. So they brought forward the projects that they had invested in. So it was Algorand, Filecoin, Blockstack, and Kin. And of course, we'd have to go last. We always ask to go last. It's a secret. But so the first company went, and the second company went, and the third company went. And every single time they talked about what would happen one day. One day people will use it like this. One day people will use it like that. And these are like super smart people. They're doing great work. But then I got up and I just put a graph up. This is how fast Kin is growing. And people said two things to me. One, I've never seen a graph in crypto. And two, it's been a long time since I've seen a graph like this anywhere. And so I think this is a really cool thing about Kin, is we don't have to talk about what will one day happen. There are 59 apps. You can go to kin.org/kin-apps. kin.org/kin-apps. And you can download 59 apps from 59 companies today that use Kin as money in their digital world.
Questions? Yes.
Yeah, so that, obviously you know the power of how to create a community and create value through a lot of people. So my question is, what do you think is the most important thing for users and for the people that create the community to stay and to grow?
So could you repeat that one more time for me?
Yeah, what's like the most important thing for a community to stay, to grow together, to build it up so it gets like to 1 billion users, so it creates something that it's really, really big.
Yeah, so basically what's the most important factor in building your community to grow it and get people using your product?
Good question. So I think when you say community, you just want to, we are a little bit different in that I think some other projects might, when they say community, they talk about the crypto investor community. Whereas when I think community, I think that's an important piece, but our primary community is developers. Developers are the one who's going to adopt this. They're going to get their millions of people using it, their users, and that's what's going to create this new global currency. So we really focused on developers. I think it's, one, there's a real problem. There is a real problem. 99% of developers cannot make money and cannot compete with these monopolies who are sucking the oxygen out of the entire ecosystem. Two, there is a real solution. This is the exciting thing about Kin is people come and they go, it works. I can build something with Kin, I can grow my user base because I joined this ecosystem, and I can make money from Kin. Wow, this is a solution to my problem. And then I think third, what's most exciting is you feel like you're part of something bigger. There's this old quote that software is eating the world. And then there's another quote that big companies are eating software. So to me, that means that big companies are eating the world. And that's not good. We don't want 5 companies running our entire digital lives. That's not good for the world, that's not good for innovation, that's ultimately not good for freedom. And so with Kin, it's not just I have this problem, not just you have a solution, but now I'm part of something bigger. Together, we are going to build this together. We all have the same incentive. We just want Kin to be as valuable as possible. So if there's some way I can help you, and you can create more demand in your app, and in some way you can help me, I create more demand in my app, we both just make more money. And we make more money in a way that gets us to all work together to compete as one, to take on these monopolies, and to build a fair world. And I think that's the thing about building a community. It's I have a problem, you have a solution, but I can be part of something even bigger than just myself. And developers are sort of coming faster and faster and faster now, realizing like this is an amazing opportunity, an amazing team, and I want to be part of it.
You can go. Let's see. Any more questions? Going once, going twice? Okay. Benji, do you want to close us down over
I would
here?
love to, thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
This is my last thing, yeah?
One more.
So we've talked about, obviously, the opportunity. I actually think this is a once-in-humankind opportunity to decide money 2.0, to decide the future of the financial system, to decide the future of the economy, decide who gets to contribute, who gets compensated at the highest level. I think we'll one day look back and be like, we knew it was going to be big, but that was crazy, okay? So the question is, we're here in Israel, we're here in Tel Aviv. Why? The hummus is part of it, and that's what keeps bringing me back, because I love it. But why? I've been here 20-ish times. My daughter, who's 18 months old, has been here 5 times. She's roughly spent 10% of her life in Israel at this point. Why? And it's because so much of the foundation of Kin is built here in this office on the other side of this hallway. And why? Because I just think, I'm from Canada. We've had offices in Canada, the US, Israel. There's just something to Israeli culture. We're going to get it done, and we're going to build it, and we're going to make it happen. When I was on a tour yesterday in Nev Zedek, that's not quite. And, it's like over here was sand, 60-ish years ago, whatever it was. And we've built this world-class city out of sand in 67 years, or whatever it is. That, to me, symbolizes the culture and the spirit of this country and this culture. And I think when we're building a new financial system for the world, an open system, a more fair digital world, that's exactly the sort of culture we want. People just work hard, get it done, let's make it happen, and then let's iterate. And so if you want to be part of one of those big movements, I think it's so cool that the center of one of those big movements is here in Israel, here in this city, here in this office, on this floor. If you want to be part of that, I encourage you to reach out. We are doing incredible things here. You'll have the time of your life in this world opportunity, so we hope you'll join us. And to everybody here who's already with Kin, which is a lot of you, thank you for joining us and me on this journey. I love coming here, and the people here, it's so wonderful, and to just keep building the team and keep changing the world. Big thank you to all of you as well. So thank you.